there's no way for anybody outside of your department to know whether we're paying too much, whether we're getting a bad deal, whether there is obscene profiteering going on, because the information isn't being shared. You said in our previous interaction that you're not going to discuss individual contracts. Just to give an outline of that particular case, that's the M Hotel in Magheracloone. That was one of those centres that, I think about a decade ago now, local community just woke up to find that their local hotel had been taken over for what was called an emergency situation. And actually the local community responded very well in terms of ensuring that the residents of what was called an emergency measure actually had, in some cases, the local community actually had to go and buy toiletries and sanitary products because the providers hadn't even provided them. And because it was considered to be a temporary emergency situation, the community responded appropriately, in my view, in the expectation that this would be a matter of time. A number of years rolled on, and the hotel engaged into a formal contract with your department, the details of which are completely unknown to the local community. But the hotel then sought planning permission for an extension. And that planning permission, they actually stated categorically that the purpose of the planning application for the extension was to actually allow the hotel to withdraw from the contract to return to commercial hotel activity. And it seems apparent now that that was actually not the intention whatsoever. So now there has been a complete breakdown in trust. And yet they come to me and other elected representatives and say, what exactly is going on here? I have no way. I'm the chairperson of the Oireachtas Justice Committee. I get to talk to you directly. I can submit questions. I can submit letters. There is no way that I can actually answer the questions in terms of how many residents are there, how much money is being made by the company involved, and what is actually the time frame that hotel is going to be taken out of a community that has no other amenity in terms of a public commercial centre such as that. Do you not see the problem with all of that, Minister?
Chairman, I publish information in respect of payments to accommodation providers every quarter. Yeah. And if it's over, I think it's a small amount, if it's over €10,000, that'll be published. So if there is a company called Callahan Enterprises Limited and I'm using them for accommodation services for international protection, you will see exactly.
But I won't see where that where their particular sites are.
But you will see how much money is being received in respect of it. So you know the money that's been paid to a particular company for the provision of international protection. So that is, I would have thought, fairly transparent accountability in terms of the money that is available. In terms of hotels, I said here before, I want to get out of the business of taking hotels. I don't want to hire hotels for the purpose of providing international accommodation. I haven't done any since I have been in the job, and my intention is to get out of the hotel business. We shouldn't be involved in it. We should be looking for more permanent accommodation. As I've said to you previously, we're now trying to increase the amount of state-owned beds. We're up to, I think, around 4,000 state-owned beds. I want to get it up to 14,000. But you will know, Chairman, like the real driver of all this is the numbers of people who come in seeking international protection. And like I've said before, that it's my policy objective to try to reduce the numbers of people coming in seeking international protection, because it is having a very significant impact, and I know from the statistics that the overwhelming majority are rejected. So that's my policy direction. But if large numbers come in, we are required under European law before the Migration Pact or any issue like that, we're required under the Material Conditions Directive to provide accommodation to people when they come in. And
the job of doing that is made much more difficult if there is a breakdown in trust with local communities. And the point, there's a number of different points. There isn't anywhere near the level of transparency. To use your fictional O'Callaghan properties or whatever that is providing IPAS centre, in some cases it's virtually impossible to fully get to the bottom of the beneficial owners of O'Callaghan properties or otherwise, and then there isn't the type of specific detail in terms of what is actually being provided for the monies that are being paid, and the very fact that savings have been made because of renegotiation of contracts shows that there was a problem. And in my view, we have only scratched the surface in terms of some of the scandals that are going on, in terms of huge sums of money being paid to people who are providing poor service. You mentioned the 22 cancellations, and I know if I ask a specific question in respect of a specific property, you won't answer. But just in terms of fire regulations, if there is a termination of a contract for fire regulations, does that result in the immediate closure of the centre? As I would expect for any residential property, if there's a breach of fire regulations and best practice safety would ensure that the building would be immediately vacated. What's currently the position?
When an inspection identifies any issues, including those related to fire safety, a formal process is immediately triggered to ensure resolution. A written report is provided to the contractor within 14 days, detailing all deficiencies found. The contractor is contractually bound to respond within 14 days with a detailed report on how they will remedy the problems, including definitive timeframes, or provide photographic proof of fixes already completed. So there's clear mechanisms in place. But, Chairman, in terms of what you talked about, like entering into contracts, I will only enter into contracts with Irish or EU companies, as they generally are. Like it is generally the case that in terms of you trying to find out who the beneficial owners are, like that isn't something generally the state gets involved in when it's entering into contracts. Like the beneficial owners could be individuals here, they could be individuals residing elsewhere. But the real issue, Chairman, here, like the amount of money we're spending is eye-watering, and it's my job to reduce it. But the real driver of it, no matter even if you had Carthy Enterprises, the most ethical company in the world, providing all the accommodation for IPAS, we're still going to be spending huge amounts of money because of the numbers that came in during the surge. So the real driver of the cost to the state is the numbers of people coming in claiming international protection.
And that's not disputed, certainly not by me. And in terms of in terms of the issues that need to be dealt with, there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of processing times, in terms of appeal times, in terms of enforcement of the decisions. But there is an outstanding issue whereby a lot of these contracts are still in place, and as I mentioned, amenities are still removed. So you've mentioned that you're not entering into contracts or trying to avoid entering into contracts with hotels. Are you actively trying to disengage from contracts? If you don't want to be specific about the one I've mentioned, okay, but are you trying to disengage from contracts such as the one I've mentioned?
I don't want to. People are suing me because I'm not giving them international protection applicants to accommodate. Okay, that's something this committee should be concerned about. Yeah. But in terms of contracts, I am not going to do something that is going to enable the other party to the contract to sue me. So if there's a contract that's for 3 years, I'm not going to turn around after 1.5 years and say, let's terminate that contract and give them a damages claim for a significant amount of money. So I have to be sensible and lawful in terms of what I can do. But if hotels are coming to an end after the contract terminates, my preference is to get out of it.
Okay, so will you divulge when contracts are going to end?
But sure, it depends when they were entered into. If a contract's entered
but if we don't know, see, you're just after saying, rightly so, that this committee should be concerned about potentially the department being taken to court in respect of contracts. And yes, but we should also then be privy to the details of why those scenarios were emerging in the first place.
But, Chairman, today is the 18th of November. Like, let's say 2 years ago, 18th of November 2023, a contract's entered into. There could be another contract entered into on the 19th of November, 5th of January, any date. And the contract will be for a period of 2 or 3 years. That's generally what it is. So the contracts are there's about 300 contracts in place. They're going to terminate at different times throughout the year. And I want to ensure that I'm not going to allow the state to be in a position where we can be sued for a breach of contract.